As a nutrition expert who has spent years studying senior nutrition, I've learned one truth that surprises almost everyone I talk to. Sometimes, the foods we believe are keeping us healthy are the very ones quietly putting our hearts and brains at risk. You might think that all vegetables are good for you, right? But what if I told you that one kind of vegetable, the one sitting right now in your fridge or pantry, could raise your blood pressure and increase your stroke risk overnight? As we age, our bodies change in ways we often don't expect. The same foods that once worked fine in our 30s or 40s can suddenly become risky in our 60s or 70s. The kidneys don't flush out excess sodium as efficiently, and the arteries lose some of their flexibility. That means too much salt, even from healthy sources, can push blood pressure to dangerous levels. And when that happens, the risk of stroke can increase sharply, sometimes overnight. But here's the hopeful part. You can protect yourself with just a few simple changes. No extreme diets, no expensive supplements, and no giving up all your favorite foods. The key lies in understanding which vegetables to be cautious about and how to make small swaps that keep your meals both tasty and heart-safe. Let's start with one of the most common culprits, pickles. They're crisp, tangy, and often bring a burst of flavor to otherwise plain meals. But what gives them that sharp taste is salt, and lots of it. A single serving of pickles can contain 800 to 1,200 milligrams of sodium. That's more than half the recommended daily limit for older adults in just a few bites. For someone who already has high blood pressure, this kind of sodium load can cause a spike within hours. I once worked with a woman named Linda, age 72, who prided herself on her balanced diet. She rarely ate fried foods, exercised 3 times a week, and avoided sweets. But her blood pressure kept creeping up despite all her efforts. When we looked closely at her eating habits, the culprit turned out to be a small jar of homemade pickles she ate with lunch every day. Once she switched to low-sodium versions and started rinsing them before eating, her blood pressure dropped within weeks, without adding or removing any medication. This pattern is not rare. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration lists pickles among the highest sodium foods in the American diet, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that high sodium intake contributes to more than 500,000 deaths from heart disease and stroke every year. It's easy to overlook this when the food seems so innocent. Another sneaky source of excess salt is canned vegetables with added sodium. Many seniors rely on canned goods for convenience, especially those who live alone or have limited mobility. It makes sense. They're easy to store, last for months, and seem like a smart way to get more vegetables. But most of these cans are preserved in salty brine, and that can mean 200 to 500 milligrams of sodium per serving. When you add that to soup, cheese, or bread, the total sodium for the day can climb dangerously high before you even realize it. The National Institutes of Health found a clear pattern. For every 1,000 milligrams of sodium consumed beyond the recommended level, the risk of stroke rises by about 18%, particularly in older adults. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. The good news is that you don't have to give up canned vegetables completely. Simply choosing ones labeled no salt added or low sodium can make a major difference. And if you only have regular ones on hand, just rinsing them under running water before heating can wash away up to 40% of the sodium. Small habits like this can literally protect your heart. Then there's sauerkraut and other fermented vegetables. These have become trendy again, especially for gut health, and there's truth to that. Fermentation creates probiotics that help digestion. But here's what most people don't realize. These foods are usually loaded with salt, often 600 to 900 milligrams per serving. For seniors, that's a heavy price to pay for a little probiotic benefit. Too much sodium can counteract the very health gains you're aiming for by damaging Arteries and stressing the heart. The American Heart Association recommends limiting sodium to under 2,300 milligrams a day, ideally closer to 2,500 for older adults. To put that in perspective, just one serving of sauerkraut could take up more than half that amount. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy these foods at all. Just be mindful of how often and how much you eat. You might even make your own low-sodium version at home using vinegar and herbs instead of heavy salt brine. Now, some might think, I've eaten these foods for years, and I'm fine. But aging changes how our bodies handle salt. It's not just about blood pressure. Excess sodium can cause the body to retain water, leading to swelling in the legs, shortness of breath, or even strain on the heart. I've seen older adults mistake these symptoms for simple fatigue, when in fact, their bodies were struggling to process hidden salt from their daily meals. If you've ever woken up with swollen ankles, or noticed that your shoes feel tighter by evening, sodium might be part of the reason. These are your body's early warning signs. And the best part? You can reverse them, sometimes in just a few days, by adjusting your salt intake. So how do you start? The first step is awareness. Take a look at the labels on your favorite jarred or canned vegetables. You'll often find sodium listed in tiny print, but that number matters. Anything above 200 milligrams per serving adds up quickly. When in doubt, choose fresh or frozen vegetables without added sauces or seasonings. These versions have all the nutrients with none of the hidden risks. The second step is to retrain your taste buds. After years of eating salty foods, it can take a week or two for your palate to adjust to lower sodium options. But once it does, you'll start noticing the natural sweetness in carrots, the earthiness in beans, and the crispness of cucumbers, flavors that salt once covered up. Many of my older clients tell me they eventually prefer the lighter taste because they feel less bloated and more energetic throughout the day. The third step is balance. Potassium-rich foods like spinach, sweet potatoes, and bananas help counteract sodium's effects by relaxing blood vessel walls and aiding fluid balance. Try pairing your meals with these fresh options, especially if you're cutting back on high-sodium vegetables. Let's pause here for a moment. If you found any of this helpful, take a second to like this video and subscribe, not just for yourself but for your friends and family who may also be unknowingly making these same mistakes. And if you've experienced changes in your blood pressure or swelling, share your story in the comments. Your experience could help someone else recognize the same warning signs. You might be wondering, if salt is so dangerous, why is it still so common in our food? The answer is simple. Salt makes food last longer and taste stronger. For manufacturers, it's a cheap and effective preservative. But for older adults, that convenience often comes at the cost of health. That's why reading labels and making small swaps is so powerful. It gives you control again. Here's one more secret most people don't know. When you reduce sodium, your blood pressure can drop in as little as 2 weeks. That's not a long time. It means that by next month, you could already be protecting your arteries and reducing your stroke risk, just by changing what's on your plate. No medication can replace the power of that simple, natural shift. Not all vegetables are bad, but some versions can be. Watch out for pickles, canned vegetables with added salt, and salty fermented foods like sauerkraut. Choose low-sodium or fresh alternatives. Rinse canned veggies, and keep your total sodium under 1,500 milligrams a day if possible. Combine that with potassium-rich foods, and you'll give your heart and brain exactly what they need to stay strong. It's never too late to make a change. Even small improvements can bring noticeable results. So this week, start with just one swap. Maybe pick up a low-sodium can at the store, or make your own quick vinegar-pickled cucumbers at home. Your future self will thank you.